Vintage Backyard RC.
Hello and welcome to Vintage Backyard RC. Well, this intro is going to be a quick one because it's freezing outside and I want to get inside and start building. What we're going to do today is compare the contents of a Roadrunner 2 to a Tamiya Hornet. And not only are we going to compare the cars, we're actually going to build the two side by side, and as we build, compare the differences and similarities between the pieces and parts in the kits. Now I don't have a new in-box Hornet, but I do have enough parts to piece one together, mostly out of new parts. What I don't have new, I'll steal from my parts car right there, which is in really good shape. So I figured, yeah, this would be a cool build. If you guys were around in the 80s and 90s, you may remember these cars. Basically, RC got so big so quickly that a lot of these little companies wanted to get involved in the game, and instead of building a new car from the ground up, they actually copied a popular car. In this case, they copied a Hornet, Super Hornet, Grasshopper 2. I can't wait to dig into this kit. It is new in box, which is going to be fun to build an old new in box car. And that's it. I'm getting back inside where it's warm. We're going to build some cars today and have some fun. So stand by. We began this project by simply opening up the box and examining the contents. Everything was very well packaged, and let's just say the parts trees looked more than familiar. It was right about here where I started to notice that this isn't just a look-alike, it's an exact copy of the Hornet. Let's have a closer look. It came with a really nice ABS body that I originally thought was a Grasshopper 2 body. Turns out it's a World's Engines Rockbuster body. Now, that was another clone car. I don't know whether those two companies, Academy and World Engines, had a deal with each other to use that body, but that's what it is. And here we can see the chassis for the first time. Look at that. Pretty much an exact copy. So right off the bat we had an issue. The letters in the parts manual do not correspond to the stamping numbers that are on the header tags of the parts bag. Not a huge problem for me, but for a first-time builder, this would have been pretty big. So here we have the Hornet parts tree on the right, and the Roadrunner parts tree on the left. Aside from the extra webbing on the A-arm for support, even their placement on the parts tree was identical. The plastic material is not up on par with Tamiya though. It's softer and more rubbery, and has all kinds of molding flash left over on the parts. So unlike the Hornet, the Runner comes with a front sway bar. Here you can see the piece that attaches to the A-arm that the sway bar goes through. Here's a part that's virtually identical. The servo saver looks, feels, and builds just like the Tamiya unit. The exception being the metal tie rods themselves. The Z-bends were terrible on it and didn't fit flush inside the saver. Time to start putting together the front end. Here we have two identical chassis. Well, pretty much. All Academy did here was add some louvers to the side and a couple extra molding marks in the bottom of the chassis. Other than that, they're exactly the same. Aside from the nylon that Tamiya uses in their uprights versus the cheap plastic in the Academy, they're identical. So I began the process of building the lower control arms with the knuckles. The cheap plastic in the Academy units made this a little bit difficult. I had to ream the holes out. Here's everything built up and ready to install on the chassis. The front spring rate felt the same between both cars, and the hardware was virtually identical. If you didn't know one was a clone car, you would never be able to tell that one was a Tamiya and one was an Academy. Another big problem I found with the manual. They don't show you how to put the spider gears in the differential. Now I've done a million of these, but for someone doing this for the first time, this would have been a headache. Virtually identical gear cases. Here you can see all that extra plastic flashing on the Academy parts tree. Time to get started on that gearbox. Through the bag, the parts look the same to me. Let's find out. Initially, I thought the rear axles were the same, but then I noticed Academy's running a larger wheel nut on their axle. I'm not too sure why. So I have a ton of these white nylon Tamiya wheel bushings. I'm going to use them over the cheap Academy plastic. And look at that, aside from the material, the gears are identical. The Tamiya gears drop right in the Academy gear case. Works out well. The gearbox was a little bit tight when I got finished, so I used this old drill trick to free it up. It worked great. Here's the gearboxes side by side. This is a good shot of some of the molding differences between the two. The infamous Mabuchi 540 motor. I thought the zinc plating actually looked a little bit nicer on the Academy one. Alright, gear cases are done. Time to get them mounted. So here's a cool upgrade, a centrally mounted third friction spring. Where Tamiya used two side springs to control the vertical deflection of the gearbox, Academy decided to put one right in the center. Let's put it together and see how it works. And here it is all together. I gotta tell you, I like the looks of this. That lock nut is adjustable to increase or decrease the amount of pressure on that spring. So this feels pretty good. I actually think it's going to work and might adapt it to one of my Hornets. As you can see here, it just clips right in. Seems pretty sturdy. Let's get the Hornet put together now. Another missing part in the manual, they don't show you how to bolt on the rear lower shock holders. Time for the rear shocks. Not my favorite job in the world, but these are already halfway pre-assembled. I do like the blue anodizing as well. It was very hard getting all the air bubbles out of the oil on the Academy shocks. The Hornet ones went together much quicker. I think the Academy shocks actually look a little bit nicer, and they included these really cool adjustable spring collets. Nerf bars are the same, just cheaper plastic. Here's Academy's version of the 3-step speed control. Looks nice. As mentioned, the runner comes with a front sway bar. I really like this idea. Let's get it mounted up and see how it works. Those little brackets get sandwiched right between the bumper and the chassis. I gotta say, this turned out pretty good. Not sure how effective it's going to be, but I definitely want to add one to a Hornet. Alright friends, sorry to switch to the camera mic here in the middle of this video. I'm on pretty much the last step, which is doing these wheels and tires. I pulled them out of the box, and you know what? These tires don't feel right. They're gummy. I don't know if you can see how soft they are. They're deformed. They pretty much feel like if I hit the throttle, they're just going to blow up. Now check that out. Super gripper, right? Talk about total ripoff. Now they did a great job copying these tires. They look the part. The rubber's obviously a little bit off. Until we get to the fronts. Here we go. Some super grippers, right? Look a little weird. What's that stuff inside? Check this out, guys. They've turned to plastic. I've never seen this ever on an RC tire with an RC tire. That is absolutely amazing. I'm assuming that's all the oils from the tire inside there. How crazy is that? So these are no good. Definitely a great conversation piece. So 10 out of 10 on copying, and failure on using the proper materials to build a tire. I still have old Tamiya tires, way older than this, that are soft and rubbery. They obviously they missed the boat somewhere, but that's pretty wild. So we'll get some re-retires and finish this car up. That's pretty much all I can do today, and thought you guys would think that's really neat. So for now, to get through this build, I used the front tires off my Kyosho Ultima. They fit pretty good. Home stretch. I really do like these gold wheels. Headlights are virtually identical to the Tamiya units. I like the strong plastic ABS wing. It's the first thing to go whenever I flip over a Hornet. Well, that's a familiar face for sure. I decided not to paint the body or install the decals. We're probably going to take this thing for a spin next year, so we'll wait till this car is ready for the shelf. So there you go, guys. I think this car turned out really nice. I like the looks of the body, I like the gold wheels, and I like a few of the upgrades that they give you. Obviously the downside is the cheaper plastic that they're using, but you know what? I can grab any off-the-shelf Hornet part to keep this thing running if indeed I want to make this car a runner. So there it is, sitting right next to the original. A little bit cheaper, maybe a little bit more cool looking? I'll let you guys decide that, but it's a cool piece of history nonetheless. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that subscribe and like button, and I'll chat with you guys down below. As always, rock on.